Hello everyone, hope everyone's doing good today. We're going to be looking at the Pen BBS 355 today. And this is a syringe or a bulk filling pen by Pen BBS. Before I take a look at the pen, as usual, we'll take a look at the box. So basically the pen comes in a box like so with an outer cardboard sleeve. Inside you will get this is that little plastic sleeve where the pen was housed, and most importantly it comes with a manual or instruction how to operate the mechanism of the bulk filling or the syringe filling system. The pen can be purchased from the Pen BBS official website, operated by Bainey. On Etsy, like I mentioned, for around $39.99 US dollars. However, at this present time, I believe the store has been kind of closed temporarily while Shanghai goes through a lockdown. So taking a look at the pen very quickly, it has flat finials. It has a nice clip in the sword style shape. On the cap band it says Pen BBS 355. Opening it up, you get the nib, which is in fine in my particular pen. By the way, this nib can be easily pulled, which I'm just going to show you very briefly. And you can replace the standard nib which this pen comes with a Jowo nib, and that will fit perfectly in here, and you can actually write with another nib. Most importantly, or rather what's most interesting about this pen is actually this part of the pen, which is actually the mechanism of how to operate the syringe. And the best way I can explain this mechanism, by the way, this is the version 2 of this mechanism. There were earlier Pen BBS pens which had the version 1. And the best way I can explain this mechanism is you can operate this piston in 2 modes, right? This is mode 1, whereby it acts like a syringe to draw ink into the reservoir, right? So it's like any syringe, like those syringes which you use for drawing blood and so on, where it just draws the ink down here. However, once you do this, you have kind of a problem, right? In a normal syringe, in order for me to kind of take the blood out of the, you would actually have to push this to kind of eject the blood. But you wouldn't want to do this for a fountain pen, correct? Otherwise, it'd literally be a fountain where it's spilling ink out. So the way that Pen BBS or other bulk filling systems have kind of gone around this is it allows you to engage the second mode of the pen, whereby just by turning this thing clockwise, you can then convert this pen to like an eye stopper, or rather a stopper mode, whereby it will no longer move this piston all the way up to draw ink. Now you can actually move this rod freely and then use the second mode of this pen, which is actually to act as a stopper to block ink from flowing from the reservoir down here to the feed, right? So that's the best way that I can kind of explain the bulk filling system. So incidentally, you can also unscrew the section part of the pen from the barrel or the reservoir, right? There is a little O-ring down here which you have to make sure you do not lose that, right? And when I unscrew it, you can kind of tell that why a demonstrator pen is such a it might not be the best pen if you want to see all, you want to, if you're like a clean freak and you want to actually make sure your pens are absolutely clean, because you could probably tell that I was using a blue ink previously in this pen, and it's really, if you wanted to, you can disassemble this pen totally to kind of get rid of all the ink stains. But if a demonstrator pen will allow you to see all the ink that you've deposited everywhere. Incidentally, this part of the pen down here you might not be able to make out, but this these threads down here, they have a little flat spot that you can use to kind of unscrew this part of the mechanism as well to clean, right? So I'm just going to make sure that I'm in that mode 2, which I am, right? And I'm going to draw some ink into the pen and show you a writing sample. So I'm going to be using Pelikan Brilliant Brown. We'll have to get some tissue actually, just give me a minute. So as you can see, I got a really good amount of ink into the reservoir just with that one pull of ink. And now is the critical part. If I did this like I mentioned earlier on, I will be spilling ink all over the table. So what I should do now is actually to reverse the piston. I can see it poking out, and then right now I can kind of then push the piston like so, and that will enable me to close the pen up. Some ink came out, ready for traveling with this particular pen and write with it. So I'm going to bring some paper and raise the table at the same time. So I'm using my new notepad by Herlitz, and incidentally, the performance of this nib is a little bit different from that earlier pen BBS which I reviewed, which it still has that upturned kind of design like so, right, in terms of the nib design. But I feel that this nib actually performs better than this particular one down here. So I mean, probably it was because it wasn't so upturned in this particular one, which is why it feels kind of better than this pen. So this is the pen BBS 355, and it's the syringe filler or bulk filler, depending how you like to call it. So as I mentioned, this particular nib, it behaves a little bit better than the other one. I can feel the feedback, and you know, it's a little bit more feedbacky compared to this particular one, which I like. I mean, it's those things about when you buy a fountain pen, every nib is different, and you might get a nib which is better or worse compared to what you prefer. In this case, I think this is a very nice fine, which actually I actually like this nib in terms of everyday use compared to the Jowo extra fine, which I put in here for a little while. In terms of wetness, it's not the wettest pen out there. However, it writes adequately, and if I were to kind of use the pen without any pressure, it's still right. So I mean, I think it's adequately wet in terms of a writer. So what I think about this pen, incidentally, I'll put the dimensions of the pen down at the bottom of the video. I think it's a interesting design. The advantages of having a bulk filling system or syringe filling system is, you saw that very first time when I did a pull of ink, that was the one and only time I needed to do that pull, and it basically nearly filled up the entire reservoir of ink. So I mean, in terms of ease of filling, if you manage to get the mechanism in the right position, I think it's fantastic. The problem, however, would be the fiddliness of activating the mode 1 and mode 2. Right now, as you can tell, the pen is pretty much filled with ink, and I wouldn't be able to tell that easily whether or not, how to engage that mode 1 or the mode 2 in order for me to kind of draw a little bit more ink or operate in this case, it will operate the eyedropper mode very easily, right? And with no fear of, having ink shoot out at the end of the pen. But I guess you know what I'm saying. I mean, that little additional complexity of operating the mechanism down here, I'm not sure whether it's worth it to have these two modes of operation. I mean, having a vacuum filler, you might sacrifice a little bit of capacity, but I feel that vacuum filler, you can still get a pretty good fill, and yet, operate the whole mechanism pretty easy, much more easier than having this type of ink filling system. Otherwise, it's a very well-made pen. I didn't mention, but the section down here is about 10.5 millimeters, and it's actually a very comfortable pen to write for long periods, right? So, a little bit of a rambling video today. I hope you got something out of it and learned something about the pen BBS 355. I'd love to know whether or not you think this pen is better than the 456 or any other fountain pen by Pen BBS. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.